Hi guys, I am Luan Skaggs and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful bed frame. And on this bed frame, I'll show you how to make the perfect tucks. So if you guys would like to see how I made this beautiful bed frame, then come with me and let's get started. To get started making the bed head, I found this really big frame that I kept for years, and this would be perfect to make the bed head. And if you don't have a big frame like this, I have another method that I'll show you later on in the video that you could use to create this design. And the first thing I did was to mark the pattern of the frame onto the board behind, and you'll see why we need that a little later on in the video. I'll be removing the backing and taking the frame outside to spray paint it. To spray paint the frame, I took it outside and I'm using the gold Rust-Oleum metallic spray paint. And to make it much easier to spray such a big piece, this handle that I picked up from Walmart certainly helps to make the job go a lot faster and a lot easier. And while this is drying, we'll go inside and start working on the inner piece. Now I'm back inside and I'm using the Wellwood contact cement glue, and this sets up in 20 minutes. I'll be spreading this all over the board to glue down the sponge. Now I am using some strips of 1-inch sponge that I just had around the house. Then I'll be using a 2-inch thick piece of sponge on top of that. If you want 3 inches, you could just go ahead and buy the 3 inches, but this is what I had at home, so I'm just using that up. You could buy any thickness that you want for your bed head. To cut the thick piece of sponge, all you have to do is place the frame on top of the sponge, mark the design onto the sponge, and cut out the sponge. Once I cut out and glued the sponge onto the board, to get the pattern that I'm going to be tufting, I got a regular piece of paper, folded it in half, and then folded it into quarter. Once you have the paper folded, you want to cut a hole on the folded lines and a hole in the middle. Once I unfold the paper, I realized I wanted my diamonds to be a little bit bigger. So I folded the paper again and made my notches a little further out. This is a very easy way of getting whatever size pattern you want. These notches will help us line up our pattern and make sure we get the same distance every time. Then you want to draw 2 lines to find the halfway point on your foam. Then we'll place the pattern in the middle and start marking out our notches. I did 2 notches on my paper and I mistakenly went on one of the wrong ones. So if you did like me and you had 2 notches on your paper, then maybe you want to transfer the final one onto a different paper, so then you don't make a mistake of using the wrong hole, because maybe you might find it out way later and it may throw off your whole design. And once you have your template, to create the pattern is very simple. All you have to do is follow the line that you created on the foam and then line up the last hole Then you'll be able to put the marks in the rest of the remaining hole. I don't know if I explained that right, but you could watch the video and you'd be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. And once you're doing it, it would seem very easy for you to do because you'll be able to understand when you're doing it exactly what I'm talking about right now. Now we'll cut a circle around all the dots that we created. This will ensure that we have a more defined shape. Now I'm going to drill some holes to fasten the buttons to the back. And to make the markings on the fabric, we'll reference this template that I made before. Because of the size I made the first template, I'll join two pieces of paper together and fold them like we did before. Then we'll line up our paper and transfer the markings. And we're going to make it an inch wider on each side. Then we'll fold the paper and cut out the last marks we made. Then we'll transfer the markings onto the fabric, and I'm using the center line that comes on the fabric to start the design. And we'll repeat the same process just like we did with the sponge. To make the tufts, I'm using this clear 30-pound fishing line and these crystal buttons. I'm going to cut a few lengths of fishing line, thread the buttons, and have a bunch of these prepared. Once I was done threading the buttons, I'm lining up the markings on the fabric to the holes on the board, and I'll loosely thread it from one side to the other side. Once I had them threaded, I went line by line and thread them through the hole. Turn the piece over, pull it really tight, and staple it in a zigzag pattern so it won't easily come out. If you were using something like a twine, it would be much more secure, but because this is so smooth, you have to staple it quite a few more times. And because it is so smooth, to make sure that it doesn't slip out over time, I went behind it and melted the plastic to give it a little nub so it wouldn't be able to slip out from the staples. After you're finished, you could leave the fabric like this, Or if you prefer the neater look, you could fold it in like this. And this is the difference between the folded and unfolded side. So whatever is your preference, it is completely fine. And to mount the headboard, I cut a regular piece of wood in half and I placed it by the bed and marked exactly where I wanted it to start. Then I reattached the board to the frame and screwed on the legs that I covered over with some leftover fabric. And this is the final result. I really love the way that it came out, and I think I'm going to use this in my dressing room because that's a full-size bed instead of using it in this room. Although this goes very nicely with the window treatment that we have in this room. And if you can't find such a big frame, you could use this idea that I use for the window treatment to create any shape bed frame that you would like. I would just cut a strip and then create the design and spray the entire thing so that you wouldn't see any white in between. I recognize using a lot of onlays are pricey, so I'll link the video where I showed you how to make molds and you could make as much onlays as you would like for pennies on the dollar. So I would have that linked at the end of this video. I want to make 2 end tables for the sides of the bed, and I also want to make some type of light on the wall. I don't want any light on the ground anymore taking up real estate, so stay tuned for those videos on the channel coming up in the future. Now I really love the way that this bed head turned out. I didn't know if I would get the correct spacing between the tufts, and making the template so that it would be easier for me to do it made the process go a lot easier and a lot cleaner. So now I'm confident that it should be very easy if you want to do it yourself. So let me know in the comments section down below if the spacing between the diamonds is not an issue for you, or if you're a perfectionist and you love to see everything neat and nice. I would love to know that in the comment section down below. So bye for now, stay safe and have a blessed and awesome day.